The late-night studio was buzzing long before the cameras rolled. Audience members whispered excitedly, sensing something big was about to happen. Bill Maher sat behind his desk with that familiar smirk, the one that always meant he was ready to poke the bear. He shuffled his note cards, glanced toward the stage entrance, and leaned back in his chair with a confidence that bordered on cocky. Like, "Before we move on, don't forget to hit subscribe button." Then she walked in. Meghan Markle stepped onto the set like she expected the earth itself to applaud. Her outfit shimmered under the studio lights. Designer, tailored, impossibly expensive. She gave a polite wave to the audience, but her expression said it all. She was doing them a favor by appearing. She settled into the chair across from Bill with the posture of someone used to being admired, not questioned. Bill started off smooth. "Thanks for coming on. I know you've been, selective about your interviews lately." Meghan flashed a practiced smile, the kind that looked great in photos but carried zero warmth. "Well, I only go where I can have real, meaningful conversations," she said with calm superiority. "Great," Bill replied, leaning in. "Let's have one of those then." The audience chuckled nervously. Bill didn't waste time. "You've been very outspoken about your struggles, with the press, with the royal family, with basically anyone who's ever criticized you. At what point does personal accountability enter the conversation?" The studio instantly iced over. Meghan's smile evaporated. A few audience members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. "Are you seriously suggesting," Meghan said slowly, "that I'm responsible for the way I've been treated?" "I'm suggesting that maybe," Bill responded, calm as ever. "Not everything that happens to you is someone else's fault. You've had conflicts with your own family, with your husband's family, with your staff, with the British press, the American press. At a certain point, when every situation becomes adversarial, the common denominator tends to be the same person." Meghan straightened, jaw tightening. "That is incredibly offensive. You have no idea what I've been through." "I mean, I have some idea," Bill said, shrugging. "You've told us. Many, many times. Oprah, the Netflix docu-series, magazine interviews, multiple podcasts. Your story's been pretty available." The audience reacted. Some gasped, some laughed, some held their breath. Meghan inhaled sharply. "And clearly people like you refuse to believe a woman when she speaks about her experiences." Bill raised his eyebrows. "I didn't say I don't believe you. I'm just saying maybe the constant victim narrative gets a little repetitive. You married a prince. You lived in palaces. You now live in a multi-million-dollar mansion. At some point, you acknowledge your life isn't the hardest one ever lived." Meghan's face reddened. "How dare you diminish my trauma? The racism, the mental health struggles." "I'm not diminishing anything," Bill interrupted. "I'm pointing out that you also have privileges most people with those struggles never get, like access to global platforms, security teams, enormous wealth, and the ability to walk away from situations that hurt you. A lot of people don't get that option." Meghan swallowed hard. "Those criticisms come from misogyny and racism." "There it is," Bill said almost gently. "This is the problem. Disagreeing with you doesn't automatically make someone racist or sexist. Some people might just think you're wrong." The audience murmured again, some supportive, some disapproving. Meghan's voice rose. "I faced institutional abandonment. I faced cruelty. And you sit here, a privileged white man, acting like—" "Oh, here we go," Bill said, hands up. "The white man card. Meghan, I've worked my whole life to get here. I didn't marry into success, I clawed my way into it. And yeah, I get criticized too, constantly. But I don't do worldwide pity tours about it." That barb hit hard. Meghan's chair screeched across the floor as she suddenly stood up, her face blazing. "This is exactly the treatment I'm talking about. You invited me here under the guise of honest conversation, and ambushed me with misogynistic talking points. Bill didn't flinch. Sit down. Seriously. Conversations aren't one-sided monologues where everyone praises you. I don't have to sit here and take this, Meghan said, shaking with anger. Actually, you kind of do, Bill said calmly. You came on my show. You knew what this was. Her finger shot toward him. You think you're funny. You think mocking people is clever. No, Bill replied. But I do think pretending your in-law drama is global oppression is a little out of touch. The audience gasped. A few even clapped. You are disgusting, Meghan spat. A disgusting human being. And you're a narcissist with a persecution complex, Bill shot back. You want royal treatment while playing the victim, can't have both. Meghan grabbed her purse. I'm done. Of course you are, Bill said, shrugging. Running away from hard questions. Your specialty. Meghan turned with a glare that could melt steel. You'll regret this. Do you know who I am? Bill actually laughed. Yes, that's the problem. And the studio erupted. Meghan stood frozen for a moment, clutching her purse so tightly her knuckles turned white. Her chest rose and fell in sharp, angry breaths. The audience didn't know whether to cheer or stay silent. Most chose silence, their eyes darting between her and Bill like they were watching a live grenade roll across the floor. Bill leaned back in his chair, completely unbothered, tapping his pen against his note cards as if he were waiting for her to make her next move. Meghan's shoes clicked hard against the stage as she took a step toward the exit, but she spun back around suddenly, fury radiating off her. You think this is funny? She demanded, voice trembling. Humiliating me? Dismissing my experiences? Mocking everything I've been through? Bill shrugged. I'm not mocking anything. I'm pointing out contradictions. That's what I do. You don't get to question my pain, Meghan fired back. And you don't get to weaponize it every time someone challenges you, Bill countered. Pain doesn't make you immune to criticism. Meghan's eyes widened, almost disbelieving. I cannot believe you're saying this. You are literally gaslighting me on live television. That word, Bill said with an exaggerated sigh. Everyone loves that word. Meghan, gaslighting is making someone doubt their reality. I'm not doing that. I'm saying your reality isn't the only version of reality. Meghan looked around the room again, expecting sympathy, expecting outrage on her behalf. But the audience was frozen, unsure if they were witnessing a conversation or the beginning of a complete breakdown. A few people seemed to pity her. More seemed stunned. Some looked like they wanted to pull out their phones and record the whole thing. This is abuse, Meghan said finally, her voice cracking. This is bullying. Bill raised an eyebrow. Bullying? This is two adults exchanging opinions. You've lived in castles. You've walked red carpets. You have millions of supporters ready to defend you in seconds. Calling this bullying is an insult to people who actually experience it. Meghan's hands clenched at her sides. You're twisting everything I say. I'm repeating what you say, Bill corrected. There's a difference. A ripple went through the crowd, half gasp, half laughter. Meghan looked at them with disbelief, like they'd betrayed her. Her voice dropped lower, angrier. So you're all just going to sit here and watch this? Watch him degrade me? A few audience members exchanged awkward glances. No one answered her. That set her off. You're all complicit, she snapped. Every single one of you. Just sitting there while this man tears me apart. Bill gave the audience an apologetic shrug. Don't blame them. They're here to watch a show, not worship at your altar. Meghan let out a gasp that was half outrage, half wounded pride. You're a horrible person, she repeated. You contribute nothing. You tear people down and call it comedy. What do you even offer the world? Bill didn't hesitate. I offer honesty, something you seem allergic to. Oh, please, Meghan scoffed. You've built a career on negativity. You thrive on controversy because that's the only way you stay relevant. And you've built a brand on victimhood, Bill replied calmly. Everyone's out to get you. Everyone's cruel. Everyone's jealous. It's exhausting. Meghan's voice rose again. You don't know me. Then tell me something real, Bill said sharply. Tell me something that isn't a rehearsed talking point about oppression or how everyone else is the villain. Tell me who you are without blaming anyone. Meghan opened her mouth. Nothing came out. The silence was brutal. Bill watched her with a level, steady stare. That's what I thought. She shook her head slowly, like she couldn't believe what was happening. Like she genuinely expected to walk into the studio, say a few lines, receive a standing ovation, and leave as the night's heroine. Instead, she was being confronted by something she couldn't control, someone who wasn't afraid of her narrative. You're going to regret this, Meghan said finally, voice trembling with rage. You think you can disrespect me and walk away from it? You think there won't be consequences? Bill laughed softly. Meghan, the idea that you think you can threaten me right now is almost adorable. That's not a threat, she snapped. It's a promise. Ooh, Bill said. Spooky. The audience laughed, which only made her angrier. You're all disgusting, Meghan said, pointing at the crowd now. Every one of you. You encourage this kind of behavior. You're part of the problem. Blaming strangers? Bill said. Classic. Shut up, Meghan spat. Bill blinked. Wow, real meaningful conversation, huh? Meghan grabbed her bag again, breathing hard. I'm leaving. Great, Bill said. Door's over there. Try not to trip over your own outrage. Meghan turned sharply, her heels echoing across the studio floor as she stormed toward the exit. She reached the steps leading off the stage, but then Bill's voice cut through the air one last time. Hey, Meghan? She paused. For what it's worth, Bill said, quieter now. I actually do hope you find peace, but you're not going to find it by blaming the world. Meghan didn't turn around. She didn't speak. She just stood for a beat, hands shaking, shoulders tense, and then she walked out with a fury that trailed behind her like smoke. When the door slammed shut, the audience sat motionless. Then someone clapped, then another, then a few more. Half the room applauded. Half didn't move at all. Bill exhaled slowly, looked into the camera, and said, Well, that was something, before they cut to commercial. When the commercial lights went up, the audience finally exhaled as if they'd been holding their breath for the last 10 minutes. The studio staff moved in like a silent emergency response team, whispering frantically into headsets, glancing toward the exit Meghan had disappeared through, trying to decide whether to chase after her, ignore her, or pretend none of this had happened. Bill stayed seated at his desk, calmly sipping his water like he'd just finished discussing the weather, instead of detonating one of the most explosive interviews ever seen on late-night television. A stage manager jogged up to him with panic plastered across his face. She actually left, he whispered. Bill nodded. Yup. Like, left. Pretty sure, Bill said. Unless she's hiding behind the curtain plotting my demise. The stage manager ran a trembling hand through his hair. Her team is furious. They stormed into the hallway. I heard yelling. Of course they're yelling, Bill said. That's their entire job description. Professional indignation. They rehearse it. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, staff members were whispering in clusters, eyes wide, adrenaline high. Did she really threaten him? Did he really ask her that? Oh my God, she called the whole audience garbage. My cousin's never going to believe this. They checked their phones. Notifications were already flooding in. Clips, edits, screenshots, memes. Reactions from people who hadn't even finished watching the episode yet. The internet wasn't just reacting. It was detonating. One intern stared at her phone with a horrified grin. It's trending. Already. Not the show. the walk-off, and Bill's line about victimhood. People are losing their minds. Another intern whispered, "This is going to be everywhere by morning." Like, everywhere, everywhere. But inside the studio, Bill stayed remarkably calm. When the commercial break ended, he returned to his mark with the ease of someone who'd been doing live TV long enough to navigate a hurricane without sweating. The cameras rolled. The music faded. Bill looked into the lens with that same smirk he had at the beginning. "Well," he said, "our guest has graciously removed herself from the conversation." The audience laughed, still jittery. "Look, folks," Bill continued, voice steady, "we live in a world where disagreement is now treated as aggression, where asking questions is labeled as attacks, and having a different opinion makes you the villain. That's not healthy. That's not discourse. That's not adulthood." A ripple of applause spread across the room. "And for the record," Bill said, "I don't hate Meghan. I don't even dislike Meghan. I just think she's wrong. And in a society that values free speech, it should be okay to say that." More applause, louder this time. He signed off that segment smoothly, professionally, but everyone could feel the shift in the air. The show had crossed from entertainment into something else entirely. As soon as the cameras cut, Bill walked off stage toward his dressing room. A dozen staff trailed behind him, talking over each other. Her publicist is demanding an apology. Her PR rep said she's going to release a statement. Do we have footage ready? They're asking for the clip. Do not give anyone the clip, Bill said without slowing down. We're going to post the official version ourselves. The executive producer caught up beside him. This is a disaster, she said breathlessly. This is going to blow up. No, Bill corrected. It already blew up. Well, then what do? We air the truth, Bill said. We don't retract. We don't apologize for having a conversation. Outside the dressing room, the hallway buzzed like a hive. Security confirmed Meghan had left the building, her heels echoing dramatically all the way to the parking area as her entourage swarmed around her, furious and flustered. Inside the studio, staff exchanged glances that said everything. They had just witnessed broadcast history. A messy, brutal, unexpected collision between ego and confrontation. One producer stared at the empty guest chair still sitting under the bright stage lights. I feel like that chair needs trauma counseling, she muttered. Someone next to her laughed, but quietly. Everyone was still on edge. Bill finally closed his dressing room door behind him, the noise fading instantly. For a moment, he just stood there looking at the floor. Not overwhelmed, not shaken, just thoughtful. Then he smirked again. People are going to talk about this for a long time, he murmured. And he wasn't wrong. Out in the real world, phones buzzed non-stop. Group chats lit up. Comment sections exploded. The clash had already begun spilling into every corner of the internet. Fandoms, critics, casual viewers, people who hadn't watched late-night TV in years. And all of it came down to a single moment, a single choice. What happens when someone who expects praise instead gets questioned? Back in the studio, the audience finally began filing out, still buzzing with shock. Some said Bill went too far. Some said Meghan overreacted. Some said it was the most exciting thing they'd ever seen on TV. But everyone agreed on one thing. Whatever happened next, the world was about to erupt. And the night was only just beginning. If you like this video, then subscribe.